Hey guys, CB Super. So if you haven't already heard, DaVinci Resolve 17 public beta is now available for download. You guys already know how to do all this stuff here. Just pick whichever flavor you're going to be using. Keep in mind, you can still always go back to DaVinci Resolve 16. I will say that DaVinci Resolve 17 does have some bugs in it, and I have experienced a few crashes, but I also am probably pushing it a little bit harder than most people, so your experience may vary. Keep in mind, if you're using any of the new functionality, there's always a little bit of chance that you could incur some kind of bug or some kind of crash. So that being said, use at your own discretion. Are there some nice functions? Yes, there are some functions that I like a lot, and there are also some things that I'm not real keen on, but unfortunately, it's the way that DaVinci Resolve is moving, so it is what it is. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, there's not much you can do about it. This is DaVinci Resolve 17. You'll notice down here at the bottom, it still says public beta, so I would imagine some of these bugs will be fixed and some of these functions may change before you actually see the official DaVinci Resolve 17 released. One thing I don't like is I don't really like all of these huge icons. I do like that these icons are all individualized to these specific buttons, but I'm really curious if we're going to be able to do that when we make an actual tool, because these are fusion effect tools that allow you to actually make fusion macros essentially, and you can use them on the edit page, which is phenomenal and I'm really excited about. In fact, I'll show you how it kind of works. Just a clip of the actual thing that we were watching here a little bit ago. Let's go ahead and take this binoculars, and I'm just going to drop binoculars on here. Now this is a tool that somebody made over there at DaVinci Resolve. They put it on here, and now you have the ability to come over here to where effects are over here in the inspector, and you can actually change things about this. So like you can change the aberration strength, distance, blue strength, whatever. You can change all these things inside of the clip, which is cool. And you can always turn this off if you don't like it. You can always delete it if you think that's silly looking. You can always go back and reset it to the defaults. You have all that option there. And of course, there's a bunch of pre-made ones that are already here. Kind of wish that they wouldn't have put all these pre-ones here, because I'm going to show you the first bug that I've encountered is if you hover scrub over these, you'll notice that you get these ridiculous, you've reached the limitation of DaVinci Resolve. This is only something that's going to affect free users. If you're on the studio version, you probably don't even see these. It's like you're living up in your ivory tower. But for us free users, we're obviously going to be burdened with this every single time we hover over it, which is really annoying. Now, even if I come over here and I say, do not show this again. Okay, cool. That's been solved. Thank you so much. Oh, really? Are you kidding me? I get to see this every single time. I think that this is one of those things that will probably be fixed in an update, and it's not just the CCTV. This one uses a film grain. Film grain is only available on the studio version, so it's looking for a tool that does not exist in the current version. That's unfortunate. There is a way to get around that. Of course, we can come in here and we can turn off the hover scrub preview just by clicking on those three dots, and now we don't have the hover scrub, which kind of sucks actually, because I really like this hover scrub preview. Where it's really nice to use is actually on titles. So if I click over here on titles, whenever I hover scrub over a title, it shows me what that title looks like, which can be very cool. And you have a ton of Fusion titles that are in here. Some of them are more useful than others. That's pretty much it for the hover scrub and how to fix it. What I would probably do is I would just turn off hover scrub preview for right now, and then when it gets fixed, I'll come back and I'll tell you. Or you can just, live with it, and every time you accidentally hover over something that you're not supposed to, it'll give you a little warning and you'll just deal with it. All right, so that's that. There is another thing that they added inside of the edit tab, which is really cool. It's probably not quite as cool as these effects are, which these fusion effects are awesome. That's probably my favorite thing so far. There's also the new keyer that they added to the edit tab, and this is pretty cool too. Let's go over here to open effects, and I'm just going to type in key. And we're going to use this 3D keyer. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to drop it onto this footage. This keyer works pretty well, except for when it doesn't. The keyer is enabled. If you come over here to effects, you can see that the keyer is working. It is enabled, but you can't actually do anything. So you have to come over here to this little tab right here and left click on it. You'll see it enables the overlays, but you actually want to enable the open effects overlay. And now when you draw a line on the green portion, you'll notice that it keys it out automatically. Now, I mean, it seems automatically, but in reality, it's just doing a chroma key. Fast forward just a little bit, you can see it actually looks pretty good. And we can look at how well it's actually doing by coming over to the output, change it from final composite over to alpha highlight black and white. That's essentially going to let us look at the alpha that we would see when we were doing a chroma key inside of the Fusion panel. This actually looks really good. So this is one of those instances where this keyer would be perfectly acceptable and it works really well, and we all feel really great about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final composite. And then now let's go ahead and let's not use that. Let's use this clip right here. Let's go ahead and move this up, because this is how you would be using it, right? Like you would just move it up, and now we notice we have this green spill around the edges. Now you can't see it when you're just looking on a black background, but you can see it here. So let's go back into the tool, back over into effects. Again, I don't know why it doesn't stay on the effects tab. Whenever I click off of something and I go back onto it, it like resets over to the video, which is kind of interesting. I don't remember it doing that. So that's kind of a new weird bug. I'm sure that'll probably get worked out at some point. Let's go into the matte finesse. This is probably actually a despill issue. Let's just click on the despill. So what despill does is it turns all that green that you saw, it just turns it to a neutral color or a color that you choose normally, but not in this version. It really just picks like gray. I don't know if that's 50% gray or what. So I don't really see a whole lot of despill options except for the option to turn it on or turn it off. So that's not a whole lot of customization there, but that's okay because it works for some things. So let's take a look at some of the functions that we have here. We have clean black, which makes a little bit more sense if we're looking at this alpha highlight. If we were to clean the black, it's going to clean up the black. Now, we don't necessarily want it to take away this white on the edge, and the reason for that is because that white actually should be there because it's just an error on the actual original image. So if I'm eating it away, it means that it's eating too much of the actual white. And let's go into despill. That works. That's about as good as you're going to get, unfortunately. You can denoise it a little bit, but look what the denoiser does. It starts to blur, and that's how the denoiser works. In this tool, it essentially just adds a blur to things, which I've shown you how to denoise things in a chroma key before, and that's not it. Does it work? Yes, it can work, but if you take it up too far, even a little bit, you'll notice that it starts to blur over here on this edge. You can clean the black, you can clean the white, which is essentially you're cleaning the foreground, you're cleaning the background with the black. All right, so there is a garbage mask. This would actually be helpful in this specific instance because you notice that we have these edges here that kind of are messing up our video. So you can create a garbage mask. It only gives you the option of a rectangle or an ellipse, which we all know isn't very useful, right? I mean, we would definitely like more than just that, but you can come down here and you can invert this. So now it would essentially remove all of that stuff on the outside. Garbage mats are nice and they're useful, but it's only one part of the green screen process. Let's take a look at maybe something like this. You probably would not want to use this tool for it because although it might work to some degree, it doesn't have enough versatility because chroma key is all a problem-solving exercise. So let's come over to the effects and we're going to go ahead and key this out. Okay, cool. We see we need despill. Boom. Does that look done? Yeah, I mean, it's probably about as good as you're going to get, but you see how, like this green spill, it wasn't able to despill that because there was just so much spill. We would need to do a lot more work to this. Now, you can come in here and you can try and denoise it because there is a lot of noise in this image. You could also clean the black. So if this is the black in here, we can go ahead and try and clean that up somewhat. You can see how it starts to eat into the edge here. It might be a little bit easier if we go back into this black and white, and we could try and clean the white as well. And you can get some of the way there. You see we're still not getting very well down here. We could also come into the clipping. That's probably not going to help out too much. We could try and clip a little bit here. That might get us a little of the way. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So we want to go back into the final composite. And it's kind of helping, but I mean, we have this light wrap that is just ridiculous, right? We can try and bring some of this down, but then it starts to eat into the door. So it's really one of those things. So we're definitely coming up to the limitation of this tool. Let's go back into this edit effects, come back down into this 3D keyer. Here's my problem with this. This would be cool if like you could start it here, and then let's say I get really far. I get to this far and I'm stuck. I want to jump over to the Fusion tab because I want to work on it a little bit, more granular. Well, you can't because it doesn't actually show up. And in fact, it's no longer keyed out. And the problem is that everything that takes place in the Fusion page actually takes place before the edit tab. Now, that's not to say that I can't come over to the edit tab and I could right click here and I could create a new compound clip, or I could create a new Fusion clip, and now I jump back over to Fusion. And so now it's been keyed out. So I could, in a sense, kind of work with it this way now, but I mean, I can't rekey that. I mean, I guess I could try. I could come in here and I could try and, do a delta keyer or something here, and then maybe just try to key out like this little bit. I don't know, maybe that would work, and maybe that's I don't know. I probably wouldn't work that way, but it is an option. Just know that essentially anything that you do, all of the open effects, you can't really work on them inside of Fusion tab because they're not Fusion effects, they're open effects. So it's different. It's like a plugin that is made specifically for your program. All right, let's move on. So there was a lot of other cool things that were talked about in the demo for a lot of other pages, but I'm really only going to talk about the Fusion page. So this clip right here has audio, so let's jump over and see the coolest feature other than the Fusion effects templates is now having audio inside of the keyframe editor. So it's still not like super user friendly. I would like these waveforms to be a little bit larger. I would also like the option to edit these clips a little bit. It is what it is. It's better than what we had, which was nothing. So that's pretty cool. And the nice thing is if you click on this, you can actually see, okay, this is the clip move, right? So this is the actual media in, and you'll notice that these are stacked underneath that media. So if I had multiple clips inside of this one, I would see those in here. Let me go ahead and demonstrate here. Let me bring another clip here. Let's take both of these and we're going to right click and create a new Fusion clip. And then I'm going to jump over to Fusion. So I'm curious how this is going to work when you have multiple audios. Let me see if I was to do like this. Okay, so we're hearing both audios. So that could be interesting if you have multiple audios left and right. So, I mean, this will definitely take a little bit of playing around with to see how the audio works. It's cool, and I'm happy to have it. One thing you must take note of, though, is that this audio is kind of playing back along with your media, right? So if your media is super heavy, like say we were dealing with like 4K or 12K or something, I don't know. Is 12K even a thing? I don't know. Let's say we added a bunch of effects to this. So let's go ahead and add maybe like a blur. I'm going to add a Gaussian blur, and let's do maybe like a glow node. And let's just add some effects to these. Mask paint. I hate mask paint. Oh, interesting. Doesn't even drop down. Huh. I don't understand you, mask paint. Why don't you work like that? That's real weird. All right, mask paint. All right, so we added a bunch of effects. Now let's go ahead and watch our playback. Notice we're getting very choppy playback. So that's just something to take into consideration, that when you're actually playing your audio back, if you have too many effects that are going on at one time and your playback is not playing back at your desired frame rate, then you're going to have to figure out ways to either reduce the load, or even just, you can come in here and you can actually just start to disable all of your effects and only keep that effect that you need to time to the audio. See, the way that the viewer works is that everything that is being processed is only what's connected to the viewer. So if the viewer sees it, it's going to have a difficult time processing it. So even if these things are not being viewed, let's say you have these even if they're in the left viewer, and even if the left viewer isn't being viewed, it will still try to process it. So that's just something to always take into consideration, even when you're doing your regular compositions, that you don't necessarily, if you're having problems with playback, then you could always disable certain effects and then just re-enable them when you're ready to render it out. Okay, that's one way you can do this. Another thing you can do, you can always come up to playback, come down to timeline proxy, and turn this to quarter resolution. That is going to downgrade the resolution of your actual viewer. You can also come over here where this play bar is, right click, you can turn off high quality, turn off the motion blur. These things are just going to allow you to have a better chance of getting, achieving your maximum playback. In fact, we could probably even start introducing some of these, possibly. My computer is not a supercomputer. All right, so 24 frames per second, that's not too bad. And that's with two audios going, and both of them are playing back simultaneously at pretty decent speed. There's one more thing we can do, and this is not really like a last resort thing or anything like that, but we can also come up to the clip itself, or to the actual this is a Fusion clip, so I probably wouldn't do in the Fusion clip, but right click on the clip itself, come down to Generate Optimized Media. What that's going to do is that's going to re-encode it in a more digestible format for DaVinci Resolve, which can really, really help your performance. In fact, there's some formats that DaVinci Resolve likes and some that doesn't, and I think John's Film actually just made a video on what you were actually doing when you're generating optimized media, so go check out that video if you haven't checked it out. The link will be down in the description or up here in the cards. It's a very good video, and it really helped me out understand what exactly was happening and why DaVinci could or could not handle it. All right, so that's ways to increase and improve your audio playback. What else did DaVinci do? Well, one thing they did is they created these icons that are really big. So if you're a fan of the effects library and you leave it open, it's a little bit bigger. In fact, it's kind of annoying because now instead of it cropping in on these useless icons that nobody needed, now it crops in on the actual name, which everybody needed. I don't know. Why would you even do that? Now I have to leave this at like a certain size just to be able to see what these are. Now, this doesn't really affect me as much because I already know the names of all the nodes, but if you're a new user and you don't know the names of the nodes, you're probably going to want to leave the effects library open, or maybe just go up there whenever you need a specific tool. So maybe this helped you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe somebody asked for this out there. I don't know who that person would have been. So there are a couple things that were introduced that I don't think are in the free version. One of them is the anim curves, which is the animation curves modifier. I think that's only in the studio version, because if I right click over here and I go to modify width, I don't see it, but I did see it in somebody else's video and he's on studio. So that's unfortunate. It's not like something we absolutely needed. In fact, I believe there's been a lot of videos of people that showed the scripts to do the exact same thing. It's just, it would have been nice to have it inside of the free version. So one of the last things that we saw in the video is you can create a custom toolbar, which is actually kind of cool. And why would you want to create a new custom toolbar? Well, let's say that you do a lot of motion graphic design or something, and you just want a different set of tools that you would use all the time, and you don't really know all of the names of the tools. So if you are familiar with the faster way to do tools usually is shift space, and then you type in, like say I want the glow tool, right? I type that in, I hit enter, and it's gonna bring that glow tool up. Well, that's great if you know all of the tools, but to be honest, there's a faster way to do things. Let's say I need a transform tool. All I gotta do is come up there, click the transform tool on the hotbar. There's always been the looming desire to change this toolbar out. And I'm not gonna lie, I've always wanted to get rid of some of the tools and have more of the tools that I wanna use. Also, you can put your own macros on the toolbar. So if you use your own tool sets, this is going to speed up your workflow immensely. So to do that, all you got to do is come over to the toolbar, right click, customize, create toolbar. I'm just going to call this one, I don't know, text. And I'm going to start removing tools from the toolbar. I wish that it just gave you a blank toolbar and that you could come in and you could add whatever you wanted. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that. It has a bunch of tools already on here, and I don't know, I kind of find that a little bit annoying. What's kind of cool though is that you can actually put your own macros on this. So let's say I have a bunch of macros. I can't add any more tools than are already on it. So it's like there is a limitation, but I can remove, let's say I want to remove this fast noise. I come over to custom, I remove fast noise. I don't also particularly love the fact that I have to right click, come over to custom. There seems like there's a lot of steps that you have to do in order to start removing these. So I just usually come over and I remove all the groups. And I say usually, I've had this for like 30 minutes. I always do this, even though I've only just gotten it. Now I can take my CB Super tool, I don't even know which one this is, click on it, now I have CB Speedline. So I can put all of my macros on one toolbar and I would have the option to quickly bring those in, which is, I think, really cool. That's kind of one of those sleeper functions that everybody was probably like, well, that's okay, I don't really care about. But no, this is like going to speed up anyone's workflow who uses all of their own tools a lot. So that's that. Bookmarks. So let's say you're a person who has a really large, massive expanse of nodes that you have on your workstation here. You can right click, you can add a bookmark. There's also hotkeys that nobody's ever going to use. And now let's say I've moved over here and I don't even know where I'm at. I can always come back here and I can go to bookmark 1, and now it's going to take me right back to my view. I think a lot of people would get use out of this if they have really large node flows. I've only had a couple node flows where I think this would have really came in handy. So is it something that I use in the future? I don't know. Maybe. It's probably not one of my top 10 features or anything like that, but it's definitely something that's interesting. I kind of would have liked a little bit more masks. Would have liked a little bit more functionality. Here's something I don't like. Bring this over here. Why does it do that? Like it pops back over. It's real weird. So, I mean, it's just doing like a lot of weird things. Like this one, it wouldn't even drop down the bitmap node. Look at that. Like it's not even working. Are there some bugs? Yes. Are they like showstoppers? No. I mean, except for when they crash your system, which I've had a couple crash my system, but for the most part, they are not showstoppers. Is DaVinci Resolve 17 amazing? I don't know. Is the audio function nice inside of DaVinci Resolve? Yes, I think that's going to be pretty handy. All right, so that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to go play around with this a little bit more. I hope you guys got something out of this video. You probably did not, because I didn't really teach you anything. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.